Hello, I'm Trump. You're watching me online, and that's not a big surprise considering that I spend most of my time here. And when I'm not broadcasting, I frequently visit other streams. I watch other streamers, I watch other streamed events, and this gaming world truly is great. I've made a lot of friends with them, and I've had the opportunity to meet some of them in person, and those that I haven't someday, but they're still great friends. There's a part of this gaming world that is not so great, though, which I want to spend today talking about, and that is the bullying which occurs. And as these people are friends to me whenever they get bullied, I feel some of that pain also. So, the topic of cyberbullying, people think of it a lot as students experiencing cyberbullying when they go during their school years. But more and more this is relevant to Twitch and YouTube. And content creators in particular are the center of that because they put themselves right in front of everyone. So they're a big target to hit. I've had the privilege of talking with a lot of broadcasters on a personal level, and sometimes they confide to me that they are just overwhelmed by the volume of negativity, which stops them from doing what they love, perhaps. And that's really sad because I've had a few of these people consider quitting or have already quit what they're doing. It's especially terrible because I have said in the past that I want to keep doing this for decades. The advice I gave to the last person who I talked to about this was, it'll get better in a century. But that is not very good advice, and it's inadequate, and it's quite sad. There have been two different directions that people have gone to protect themselves from this cyberbullying. On the YouTube front, I've seen quite a few people turn off their comments, but that's unfortunate because a lot of the feedback is lost then, and some of the feedback is constructive criticism. And that's good for streamers. On Twitch, a lot of people just take the abuse. And in some extreme cases, some streamers even foster an environment which encourages this kind of abuse. Part of it might be to show that they aren't affected by it, but either direction that they go in, there seems to be a feeling that this kind of thing is unavoidable. Though that may be true, I take some inspiration from Lelouch of Code Geass. He was someone who took control of the world in order to move it into a kinder and gentler direction. For his sister, not only. So I say, screw waiting for a century. We can change the world too. Even if it's just a small part of the gaming world. And I firmly believe this because I believe that people are inherently good and that there's less than 1% of people who are actually out there to hurt others. So I've got my first plea directed to those of you who are ignorant of the harm you may do. On Twitch, there is a phenomenon of copy and pasting, where a message is seen and then more people copy-paste it, and then it gets seen even more. And that's not a surprise because one message may get lost and multiple messages lets it get seen. But something really important to keep in mind is to recognize what messages should be copied and which shouldn't. You have to recognize the funny ones from the distasteful or the hateful ones. In a lot of these streamed events, I see a mix of both of those. When, say, a player is getting some bad luck and people comment on the salt levels of this player, that's a good thing, especially since that broadcaster actively encourages it. But when it comes to personal insults, that is no good for anyone. One copy and paste that I've seen a lot of, which I dislike, is "tuck Frump." And it's easy enough to see how that message might seem innocent enough. It means nothing to those who don't know me at all. But it is a hateful message, which is masked by the simple juxtaposition of two letters. And therefore it is easy for good people to become desensitized to this type of thing. They see it all over the place. It's not anything bad by itself, but it is still a hateful message. So I ask you that whenever you do a copy-paste of a message, realize that you may be hurting an actual human being. And I know that many of you are kind and gentle souls, so basically don't be bullies and do something that may be as simple as that. English statesman Edmund Burke said, "All that is needed for the forces of evil to triumph is for enough good men and women to do nothing." So that leads me to my second plea, directed to the silent majority. Negative messages are inevitable, but you can counter them with positive ones. I know that there are many more of you who enjoy who and what you're watching, but sometimes broadcasters just need to be reminded of that. It's far better for their souls and their hearts to see messages of positivity rather than that of negativity. Some people who spread these uplifting messages are mocked as white knights. But I want to redefine what that negative connotation. It should be of the highest compliment. White knights are nobility, and they represent the ideals of chivalry and heroism. They're not just for females, they're for everyone. And I, for one, would love it when people accuse me of being autistic for a knight in shining armor to ride in on his steed and rescue me. These two requests can lead to a completely different environment. And again, first is simply recognizing the negative impact that you can do of copying a hurtful message. That one's as simple as realizing that and discouraging the use and preventing yourself from doing so. And second is to realize the positive impact you can unleash when you spread these positive, uplifting messages. Of all the places where bullying exists, gaming should be one where it doesn't. And while this talk has been mainly focused on broadcasters, it applies to all gamers. We all game in order to have fun. So if there is personal distress coming from personal attacks when you're playing games, there's no place for that. So thank you for listening. This friendship we share through gaming truly is magical. So let's harness it into making the world a kinder and gentler place instead of one where one simply has to grow a thicker skin.